Hello, welcome to Search with Sean again. This is episode 3 of SEO and AI news, which is, time's flown so fast. And I keep thinking I'm going to not find enough news to talk about, and this will just be a waste of time. But actually, I have too much news again. So, there's going to be lots of stuff carried over to the next one. But what's really good today is I have a guest with me. But we'll go on to that soon. And so, first of all, obviously, by now you should know I'm Sean. I've been working in digital marketing for quite a few years now, SEO especially the last several years, and I'm the SEO manager at Macmillan Cancer Support. And today I have my colleague, which I'm really excited about, Adair. And I'll let them introduce themselves. Go for it, Adair.
Cool, thanks, Sean. Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Adair. My pronouns are they, them. I'm an SEO content lead at Macmillan Cancer Support. So I work on Sean's team. Have been working in SEO for, I guess, about the last 2 years now. But prior to that was a digital editor working on digital content, both at Macmillan and at other charities. So have been sort of working on charity digital content for about 10 years now. Looking forward to getting into it today.
Yeah, fab. And obviously these videos are really just covering the SEO and AI news, the latest stuff and insights from the experts in the field. And we don't know everything. We're just covering the news. Obviously know some stuff, but so hopefully you'll find it interesting. And there are also all the links to everything we cover in the description. So if you ever want to do your own reading into them, then feel free. And also there's links to I'm sure they'll pop up and stuff of the previous episodes. I still think they're quite relevant, so you can go back and check on those as well. So just looking into, it's obviously just a recap on last episode. Again, I'll put there'll be a link popping up somewhere about this. And we covered the last episode, we covered the leaks, and we're actually going to go into that again. They haven't slowed down, people looking into those. SEO was in crisis, maybe it still is. That was from a Moz search scientist, so that was quite an interesting story. We also looked at Apple releasing a lot of news around what they're going to be doing in AI, which was a really interesting topic. And also related is developments at OpenAI. So what are we going to look at this week? Hopefully we've got enough time. We're going to try and cover all the main stories, and obviously if we miss anything, we're going to go roll that over to the next time. But we're looking at the end of the continuous scrolling on Google. Google completed the latest spam update and what that means, the latest on Reddit and AI overview results, and also some more on the Google API document leaks, because I think everyone's been interested in that, so we're going to keep covering that until things slow down. So just moving on to story 1. And again, there's some reading here. I try and dig around the internet and different social media platforms to find some of the biggest stories and what the experts are saying about it. So Google has ended its continuous scroll in search results, given an explanation that raises more questions. It raises more questions than it gives answers. So Google announced that they are ending continuous scrolling in the search results as a way to speed up serving search results. Many in the search marketing community question that reason and raise questions about it. So The Verge, which is obviously a big tech sort of website, reported that in its place on desktop will be Google's classic pagination bar, allowing users to jump to a specific page on search results or simply click next like it used to be. To see the next page, or a mobile more results button will show at the bottom of search to load to the next page. So while Google claims that the change is to help Google serve faster search results, many in the search marketing community are skeptical about the impact, with good reason. Because in the US Department of Justice released emails showing Google's top management discussing about ways to show more advertising in search results. So obviously Google's had a lot of bad press recently. There's a lot of skepticism around how they're doing things all the time now. So Brett Tabke, again, I hope my pronunciation is okay, but you'll find all the links in the description. So but he's the founder of PubCon, Search Marketing Conference, which I'm sure many are aware of. And he said it's effectively boxes more clicked on to page one that will result in a higher percentage of clicks going to ads and Google properties. I think it is more evidence that Google is on the path to a new version of portal and away from search. Organic search itself will move to page two, and I believe eventually a new domain. They will move away from organic results on page one. So what is left? And it goes on to say, Google ads, Google properties, Google overviews, and a link to page two. So yeah, they are on a path to fulfilling all general searches with their own responses in some form or another. When they don't have a perfect response, maybe they will do a people also ask, and those lead back to a SERP where they can fulfill the search with their own properties and responses. So it goes on, and that was on Search Engine Journal, I believe, and the link is in the description. But from my own point of view, a lot of that makes sense. Obviously, we do know Google are trying to be the ultimate answer for a lot of things. So it's concerning on that aspect that perhaps they've rolled this back with not the right intentions. You can only take their word from it most of the time. So, you'd like to think it is for the right reasons, that it is for the benefit of the users. But I guess, Adair, what's your point of view? Do you believe what Google's saying, or do you believe the skeptics, or a bit of both?
I think I'm probably somewhere in the middle. Initially I thought great, because I don't like continuous scroll, especially on desktop. I think it becomes quite overwhelming. But I think, as you said, maybe they're not doing it for the right reasons, but they're sort of doing the right thing, but for the wrong reasons, because it will benefit users. But at what cost? I'm one of the old school weirdos who doesn't mind clicking through a few pages of results. I think that's probably similar for other SEOs, but I think maybe that's. I think other users, it's a behavior that we're used to. I think that people, like to a sense of familiarity sometimes, and that's how Google's been for a long time. I don't know. I think these theories about what it means in terms of pushing organic and a new Google potentially, to me, that's a bit wild. I think that's quite, I don't know how close we are to that. I think there may be elements of truth in that, but I think that might be an exaggeration of where this is going, because Google have already lost so much trust with all of the AI overviews and the things they've been doing recently. I think that, to do something like that, they're going to lose even more user trust. And I think that users just won't like that. And if users don't like it, they will leave. And use other alternative search engines, which they're already doing to some extent. We'll get into it in one of the other stories, but talking about things like social media as a search engine. I think with all the chaos of Google recently, as much as they're such a dominant player, if there was ever a time to challenge Google's dominance, it's now for alternative search engines, because they have been taken such a massive share of the market. But I think they're sort of over engineering so much, and it's really putting people off.
Yeah, no, great points. And I think to a degree people give Google a bit too much credit in terms of what they're capable of. I think we've seen, as you say, with the latest rollouts, they've had to, just on a number of updates, and then the AI overviews, they've made so many mistakes they've had to go back on and fix, whether they can actually have the the capabilities of doing what people are suggesting. Like you say, I think we're well off that. And they know, well, you like to think that they know how important that content creators are for what they're trying to do. And if people aren't getting their content seen, then they're going to stop creating it. Then where do they get their information from? So, it's they rely on websites just as much as we rely on them, and they have done some shady stuff recently. There's no doubt about it, and they've been caught out. And it's you can get the court documents and everything, and all the leaks and stuff. It doesn't look good for them. So, as you say, people are looking elsewhere, and things are evolved. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But I actually prefer the old format, if I'm honest, especially on desktop, as you say. But yeah, it makes a good change from the Bing kind of craziness that's going on there.
I enjoy Bing. I feel like I don't know, every time I go on Bing, there's like a new SERP, and it's quite fun to explore as an SEO.
It's fun.
Things like development. But I think probably it's fun for us as SEOs, but maybe less fun if you're a user who just wants an answer to your question.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I definitely agree. So on to the next story. So, we've had a few of these, but the latest Google spam update has been completed. So just on this, the update targets websites violating Google's spam policies. This spam update is part of Google's ongoing efforts to combat web spam and improve user experience. It's important to note that this is not an algorithmic component of the site reputation abuse update, which Google has clarified is yet to be implemented. An analysis by Search Engine Journal's Roger Monti revealed that certain AI spam sites ranked for over 200,000 queries, with more than 14,900 ranking in the top 10 search results. So it was a big problem, this sort of AI spam issue. And, that analysis kind of highlighted that. So the June update is expected to refine Google spam detection capabilities further. However, as with previous updates, it may cause fluctuations in web search rankings. So yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, I think the last few updates have kind of been targeting a lot of this stuff, but also some websites have perhaps been collateral damage and kind of been affected where they don't feel they should have been. So it'd be interesting to see the fallout from this one. But I think this will be, with so many people using AI tools and stuff, there's other types of spamming, sites as well, but especially with AI kind of takeover that, and as we saw in the report, like many of them ranking quite highly, Google will have to get better at understanding the difference between AI written content and human written content. And obviously it falls into the whole sort of, transparency of things here, EAT and that kind of thing. But yeah, I feel it'll be interesting to see anyway how they're going to combat in the future, because I spoke to James Brockbank. I had the interview, and I put a link here. It's a really good chat. And, he was saying how he did his own analysis and how the very few people find it very hard to tell the difference between human written content and AI written content, and how we're going to get crawlers to find the difference. It's going to be really interesting going forward. Because you can see on the social media and stuff how just some people are just putting out AI written stuff everywhere. So it's going to be nearly very difficult to tell the difference. So I don't know if you've got any viewpoints on this particular story. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one about people not being able to tell the difference, because I think sometimes people maybe overestimate AI a little bit, and that's not to downplay how sophisticated it is and how, it's iterating all the time and getting better and better. But, there are some, we see it all the time, making quite basic errors. So I think, it still needs to be approach with a lot of caution, particularly for us. We deal with a lot of your money, your life content, healthcare, finance, and it's really concerning that healthcare in particular has been shown for so many AI overview results. When lots of people thought it wasn't, they'd stay well clear of that. So, I mean, I think good. This is good news. It means hopefully better, better results, more accurate, safer results. But as we say, like, how good is the algorithm actually going to be at telling what's AI and what isn't? I think, and it seems like, I think I'm right in thinking this actually isn't applying to the AI overviews, it's just applying to sort of general results. So this is all well and good, but then what about the AI overview results that we've seen are a bit spammy and do apply to your money or your life results? Why aren't Google applying these same restrictions, safety measures to their AI overviews? Is my concern.
I think what's interesting as well is just, as you say, with the AI overviews, and we'll touch upon it later, hopefully, but those AI overviews, they're not picking their sources from the websites that are ranking the highest, for example. They're picking them from all random places. So, the algorithm could do its job and really eliminate all those sort of, spammy based websites that are ranking highly, but then the AI overview should be learning from that, but doesn't seem that that's following the same pattern. So it's going to be really interesting on that. And what's really kind of interesting as well is that obviously when it all kicked off, this AI content boom, they came out and basically said that, we don't recommend doing this. You're not going to really, rank that well. We're not going to. And then maybe they found that they couldn't really stop it, so they kind of changed their what they said and said, well, as long as it is good stuff, then we'll still rank it, and they kind of perhaps shot themselves in the foot a little bit, because that kind of opened the floodgates to kind of loads of people creating AI content, because they said basically it's okay as long as it's good. And AI can write good content. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But whether you're trusted with medical information and stuff is highly doubtful. So yeah, really, really interesting to see how this all plays out, because Google are in a bit of trouble. I've said this in previous videos, and search is probably the worst state I've seen it for a very, very long time. The search results, I mean, Lily Ray talks about all the time, are terrible. Some of the results are just terrible. They haven't, you think all these years that Google have had to, perfect the Google algorithm, and we're still seeing these kind of mistakes. I know things have got quite advanced and times have moved on with AI and stuff, but yeah, it's quite concerning, some of the results you see. So we'll see how it plays out. So just moving on to story 3, and it's around Reddit results, because obviously a lot of people, Reddit, we all know the kind of, well, they got the partnership with Google, and we know the visibility has increased massively. You see in Reddit a lot more on the search results. And again, all the links to all these stories we discuss are in the description, so please feel free to have a look for yourself. So there's a couple of parts to this, because a lot going on, and the first is kind of related. So the first story is Gen Z is shifting away from traditional search engines for product discovery, and this is something that you mentioned just recently. And a new report from Reddit, in collaboration with GWI and Ambasco, sheds light on evolving search behaviors of Generation Z consumers. So the study surveyed over 3,000 internet users across the UK, US, and Germany, highlighting significant changes in how young people discover and research products online. The study shows that Gen Z has used social media for product discovery 36% more frequently since 2018. Even though more people are finding products through social media, the report shows that Gen Z is less likely to trust what social media influencers recommend. These young shoppers often don't believe in posts that influencers are paid to make or products they promote. Instead, they prefer to get information from sources they feel are more real and driven by regular people in online communities. So they say because of this lack of trust, companies must focus on being genuine and building trust when they try and get their websites to appear in search results or create ads. So, we can, before we move on to that, the next part of it as such, something you touched upon was this. And, I think that the influencer side of it, obviously, when a couple of years ago, it seemed like, it was when influencers were just taking off and everyone really just believed anything anyone famous was saying and would buy everything. I think obviously there's been some examples where things haven't gone right to plan. Obviously, we've had recently people from, I can't remember which one it is, if it's Only Way is Essex or something, that they went to court because they were basically trying to sell something that wasn't right. And obviously we've had things like other celebrities, and it hasn't really. So I think there's some distrust there, as it said in the report, but there's no getting away from it that people, especially younger generations, are more on social media these days because Instagram, TikTok, and so on, and Reddit, and yeah, so they're going there to at least find out about products rather than scrolling through product pages on websites and stuff. So yeah, I don't know if you had anything on this particular story.
Yeah, I think this story is very interesting. I mean, it's not anything that I think we're particularly surprised about, but I mean, we've seen TikTok kind of explicitly using search call to actions in their marketing, so that's clearly part of their business model, using TikTok as a search engine. So I think, we know we need to think about search as this multi-channel thing. It's not just Google, traditional search engines. It's also these other channels like forums and social media. It all kind of needs to align. I think as well, it was interesting reading about the generational differences. I mean, I'm not Gen Z, I'm like middle millennial, but I've definitely found myself using these other channels as a bit of a search tool, particularly for local. So like, for example, for like my barber that I go to, tattoo artists, like I found them through Instagram and just like searched for like queer, like LGBTQI plus friendly businesses, and a lot of them, it's very like the business, they don't even have a website, and they list like the artists who are there, and you can look at their profile and then contact them directly and book directly through them. And like I think I really value that as a user, having that kind of quite intimate connection with like a local business. And I was thinking earlier, like, that's what we know as a charity as Macmillan. We know that people really value those when they have an interaction with a Macmillan professional or they speak to someone on the support line. So I guess I was thinking about those kind of local micro interactions, and like obviously we can't necessarily replicate them as a massive organization with such a huge number of people we support, but thinking about a future where we can kind of replicate those intimate micro interactions and connecting with people in a bit of a different way when they're searching for support.
Yeah, for sure. And I go straight to YouTube a lot of the time if I want to see more about certain products or what kind of product to pick for this, or just news in general. I sometimes just go straight to YouTube, where maybe in the past I would have searched it on Google. So it definitely is a switch in people's mentalities and stuff. And also as it said in there, it's a huge, the way we're building websites now, and obviously there's so many websites and so much choice out there, especially when you're doing like e-commerce, for example. You have to make yourself different in some way, and one of the key ways that you're different is that you're you. And if you can showcase who you are and what makes you different and what makes you stand out, and that you're transparent and that you're real, that's one of the best ways to do it. So we all know about the EAT side of it, but the trust and transparency side, I think, like you say, it's a lot easier to do it via social media, but if you can also replicate that on your website, it's going to be, I think, very beneficial.
Yeah, there was also something on this about how Gen Z are actually now trusting forums like Reddit slightly more so than Google. Although the article does say, this is a study by Reddit, so take it with a pinch of salt. But I can understand that. I can see that. And I think as well, with the state of the search results at the moment, it can be a bit overwhelming. And I think, again, going back to local search, like I found that like for things like restaurants, like for local, there's like a Liverpool Reddit, like where I live. So rather than trying to scroll through millions of different restaurant listings that all have the same like 4 or 5 stars, if you go onto Reddit, you can see like, somebody's recommended a vegan restaurant or an Indian restaurant, and then people discussing the merits or otherwise of said restaurant. It's a lot more, I don't know, you get more of that discussion, that conversation, you understand more about what the experience of going there is going to be like, which is interesting. So, I do still pay attention to those, the rich snippets, the reviews, features, but I can see how and why that behavior may be shifting.
Yeah, and that's what Google, I guess that's the whole reason why they did this deal with Reddit, and obviously why they're trying to push like forums and stuff, because websites, no matter who you are, you're going to have your own biased opinion, you're going to have your own agendas. There's no, if you're a restaurant, you want them to go to your restaurant or no one else's. You're not going to say, oh, the one down the road's actually better, so go to them. It's not going to happen. So Reddit does create that sort of unbiased sort of place, and obviously there are others, but it can get dangerous at times, especially when it's like health based. You don't really want to take, you shouldn't be getting your health advice from, unless they're a doctor or whatever, but you don't really know who they are. So that's kind of the only thing that needs to be, that's slightly worrying in my opinion. But if it's kind of like, especially if it's a really sort of, niche sort of thing that you're looking for, it's a really kind of great way to display the results, because they may not have much information on that on different websites and stuff. So it's a good point. And moving on, is just around Reddit still, but so SEMrush data showed that a slight downward tick in Reddit's results in Google's discussion and forum section. So kind of, obviously we're just discussing it, but they have actually seen a slight downturn in how many they're showing, because there was a lot, apparently. The results were showing this kind of Reddit was taking over. So Mordy Oberstein, who's the head of SEO at Wix, said there's a slight yet consistent downward trend in both Reddit and Quora. I always say that wrong, so I probably say it wrong again, but Quora, how would you say?
I would say Quora, but I don't know. I've never questioned the pronunciation, so now I'm questioning myself. But yeah, I think Quora.
Okay, we'll go with that. Well, basically, the URLs being used in the search feature, they're going down, and conversely, other forums have seen an inverse trend and are seeing more placement. So maybe Google are just trying to correct things. They went a bit over the top with Reddit results and thought, actually other forums need more sort of visibility. And Lily Ray, who I mention every single video, who's
our team is sort of the unofficial Lily Ray fan club, I think. Yeah, really great person to follow if you don't follow her already. Loads of great SEO insights from Lily Ray.
Yeah, for sure. And she does a lot of video content, but also loads of good posts on LinkedIn and stuff. But yeah, Lily's the Senior Director of SEO and Head of Organic Research at AMSIF Digital, and tweeted about the Reddit's just a general increase seen on Google. And you know, she noted that Reddit appeared in discussion and forums for various medical queries in recent weeks, but not anymore. So maybe that's where it looks like it's very likely that's where the decrease comes from. They've removed all the medical related Reddits, as we just said. Is my concern is that would be, those would be appearing, but it looks like they've kind of addressed that for now. And just the last one on that topic is, and again, these are all different stories we're finding across the internet, so they sometimes contradict themselves and things. So, you have to read into different things, read between the lines. But all the links are there so you can look at yourself. But Reddit's website traffic has grown 39% compared to the previous year, according to data from SimilarWeb. Several factors, including Google's prioritizing helpful content, that's put in brackets, so take that as you want, from discussion forums in recent algorithm update, have likely contributed to Reddit's improved search rankings and visibility. As we know, Google recently signed a $60 million deal to license Reddit data for AI products. The timing of the deal and Reddit's search growth raises questions. Google has denied a direct connection between the deal and Reddit's search visibility. I mean, I am very skeptical, especially after what's going on with Google. I mean, you don't sign a $60 million deal and then say to Reddit that, it'll be for nothing. Obviously, they signed it with obviously, in it, Google are going to say you'll see some results for it. I mean, it just wouldn't make sense otherwise. So, and obviously, if they're going to be shown the data for AI products, then obviously Reddit's going to be seen more. I think it is a bit, Google's meant to be a very neutral place that the best content is, surfaced. And obviously, if you're signing deals and then they're seeing search increase, it does, raise whether how neutral, they're going to sign further deals with other publishers to get pushed up, and others that, haven't got that type of presence are going to get pushed down. It's not really perhaps that fair. But yeah, any thoughts there on this one?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's saying that there's no connection is a bit shady, because I think it's pretty obvious that there is. But I mean, I'm glad that they are, deprioritizing it when it comes to healthcare results, because, as we said, that's something that we'd be concerned about. But also good that they're, I think, seeing more of a rise in other forums as well, giving more priority to lived experience. For us at Macmillan, we've got our online community forums, so we want people to get to those, and it can be really, really powerful to connect with other people with a similar lived experience to you. Especially if maybe you've got a rare cancer type, or quite a unique, quite unusual experience. You're just not going to find that information necessarily on our kind of standard, more medical cancer information pages. So I think, we've seen like a big increase in the performance of our forum website. So I think that's partly due to changes that we've made, but I think, optimizations that we've done. But I think it's probably also related to the way that Google is shifting to prioritize experience. So I think there are benefits to this. And I mean, I was at a training recently where somebody was talking about how if you have a website that doesn't already have a forum, might be something to look into, as it, they clearly have search value. It's clearly something that users value. So yeah, I'm glad that Google is, recognizing the value of these spaces. I guess for us, it's about making sure that, targeting, like making sure that we're appearing for the users who want forums and need forums and to connect with others with lived experience of finding that. Whereas where they're searching for that more kind of medical, trusted, peer-reviewed information, that they are getting, that's what they're getting, that they're getting our cancer information that is all of those things. So I think as long as we're, targeting and optimizing our content correctly, then hopefully, we're giving users what they need, and they can access both things, through, can access the forum through the website, they can access the website through the forum.
Yeah, and obviously you've seen the Alida Solis, who's a SEO legend herself, has recently launched her own forum around SEO and stuff. So I urge you to check that out. It's all free and stuff. So yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's surprised actually it's taken so long for Google to jump onto this, really, in terms of forums and stuff, because I've been using forums for, when the internet just kind of popped up, and forums are really popular. It's a really good way of interacting with different people. You didn't have really social media then back in the day, so forums were like very popular, and they've continued to be. So yeah, it surprised me how long it's taken, but I do find it a bit worrying that they've like agreed a deal with just one particular type of forum and seem to be pushing that more than others, and I think that's not really a fair way of doing it. But we'll see. Maybe they're being genuine. We have to take them on their word, I guess, for now. So yeah, just a general, if you are enjoying this video, and I do urge you to look at the other episodes because they're really interesting as well. But if you are enjoying this, please do like and share. It really helps the kind of channel grow. And we've got plenty of interviews and stuff coming up that are going to be really great, and more sort of about videos about different SEO and AI topics and things like that. So yeah, it really helped. So just moving on to the next story, and thought this might sort of end, but it's not. And lots more news around API leaks, and just generally. So the first story, and this was shared by Chris Long, who I keep saying recommend to follow, but he shares some really good stuff. He does really good short videos and stuff. So definitely follow him on LinkedIn. But the story was all about, is Google gaslighting the internet? And this was in the New Yorker. So, Chris was just saying how it's getting a lot of, just the normal kind of press that don't really cover these sort of stories are starting to pick up on it. And it's obviously not good for Google. So the article explores the contradictions, what Google is saying to the public and what they're actually doing. So, some of the key insights shared by Chris included, telling websites to focus on factors like EAT, but then demolish the traffic of independent sites, downplaying the impacts that clicks have on how sites are ranked, and then finding out in the API leaks they actually do mean things, and using a small personal site attribute that some believe may demote against smaller sites. So, again, the API leak showing more of these sort of maybe Google's twisting the truth on some things and favoring big media brands that focus on clickbait titles as opposed to exact research. So, that was a really interesting story. I think, everyone, again, if you're working in search, you probably are not surprised by these things. But when, I was just talking to my hairdresser about some of this stuff, and, because they use Google ads and they wasn't aware of the kind of recent Google court case and the kind of revelations that came out about them kind of manipulating the data to kind of make people pay more money, for example. And these sort of things people aren't aware, so it's getting more media awareness from different sort of publishers now, and it's really, Google is a money-making business, so it's not a really good look for them. And if all these things are correct, obviously some of them are hearsay at this point, but it's really not looking good, as we said before. I mean, Google are probably going to stick to their guns and say what they're saying at the moment, that we are aware of problems, we're trying to fix it, we're trying to be transparent, we say, we tell you what's going on all the time, we give you updates and so on and so forth. But also I think it's difficult for them because they have several quite famous mouthpieces in terms of like John Mueller and so on, and if they say the wrong thing or give the wrong impression, people are going to pick up on it, and it could put them in a tricky situation and position. So yeah, I don't know. Obviously, we've discussed it a little bit already, but I don't think you've got any further thoughts on, on this. Obviously, the leaks have kind of opened up a bit of a can of worms and gave them more headaches that they already had in terms of having court cases and AI overview problems. So it's not a great time.
Yeah, no, it's another interesting story. And I think, to be honest, like reading about it, the idea of the difference between what Google say and what they actually do, I feel like that's always that's always been the case. I feel like personally, I feel that Google are very like pedantic about what they say, and sometimes it doesn't actually matter that much. Like, for example, they say that they're very pedantic about what they'll say is a ranking factor and what isn't. They say that click-through rate isn't a ranking factor. It's like fine, but like it still matters. So I don't know, do we need to get too hung up on the semantics of that? So I do feel, I don't know, they've always been a bit contradictory, and they're being massively contradictory when it comes to what they've said about EEATE and then what they're doing with AI overviews, because we've all been working really hard to make sure that our trust signals are there, that we've got our author bios, that everything is credible and trustworthy, we should do those things anyway. If users value those, and we know that they do. So there's no reason for us not to do that. It's what we should do. But then it's a bit of a kick in the teeth when they also then turn around and kind of devalue all of that work and all of that trust by just having these AI overviews that, telling people that it's okay to smoke when you're pregnant, things like that. There've been some really wild ones shared, and also Maxine's our other SEO team colleague, went to a ClearScope webinar the other day with Garrett Sussman from iPort Rank, and he said Google talks out of both sides of its mouth, which I think is a very good accurate description of what they do. I wrote down a couple more things that he said because I think they're quite relevant. He said that trust is the currency of Google, and it could be a death knell for its business model. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah, I just think it's hard to understand why they are doing what they're doing. And I think another thing that Garrett said was around just about the AI overviews and how Google have kind of said that everyone loves them, but everyone does not love them, and they're misrepresenting that to the public, and I don't really understand why they're doing that, because I don't know, it just seems like they are just not being honest, which again goes back to the trust thing. It's like if they're expecting all of us content creators to be really honest and trustworthy, why aren't they doing the same thing? It's a bit hypocritical.
Yeah, the problem with Google is that, before they could just be quite vague and sweep under the carpet, but in the last few years, obviously they had a court case. Now this API leak, they can't really hide it all because it's out in the open now, a lot of it. So, and they've had whistleblowers and former employees come out and, you know, say stuff so that are quite senior. So they can't go back on it now. They're going to have to be transparent on some stuff. But yeah, it's it's a really good point. And I was going to say something else, but I can't remember now. But
well, I have another quote, which I just thought is relevant to all of this, which is from Jurassic Park. But it's, but I feel like it sums up what Google is doing with AI at the moment, which is your scientists were so preoccupied with whether they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. And to me, that really represents the way that Google have approached their rollout of AI overviews, SGE. I think they've just rushed it and made a bit of a mess of it.
Yeah, and the thing is that their kind of responses are kind of political, like a political sort of response. And what they don't understand is that trust in politicians right now is at an all-time low across the world. So trying to act like one of those is not probably the best way of going about it. So that's something to consider for them. So yeah, on that topic, more about the AI overviews. Again, it's probably a rolling thing because I don't see it slowing down, and they're going to keep doing things. And I did want to, again, all the links are in the description, and I try and put that ClearScope link as well, as you mentioned. But one thing it was Alida Solis, who again, you know, you should follow, put out a bit of a poll and based off, well, it's again, it kind of actually more linked to the leaks, to be honest, but you know, we'll cover it here anyway. So basically she asked, are you going to change your SEO activities after the Google document leak? And there's over 220 votes, and the vast majority of people, 42%, said not at all, nothing new from me. So yeah, that was interesting. And the second was 19%. I'm not changing, but reprioritizing. So I'm going to reprioritize further some already planned things. So yeah, that was interesting. I think, you know, when I discussed it with James Brockbank in the interview I did recently, you know, he kind of stated that unless, you know, you're really, you know, very technically minded and you're doing all the right things, you knew all this kind of thing anyway, or you kind of anticipated all the things that kind of got leaked, then he would understand if you would act on it. But if you're kind of just, you know, not basically saying that there are things to learn from it, even if it's kind of just understanding more the kind of mindset of Google, not so much, you know, changing things as such. But I think I do find it a bit strange how people saying nothing's going to change at all. You know, I think some of it will, you know, some of it should have probably, you know, some of it reinforce some of you already what you're thinking, but some you should be digging into a bit more, I think, because there was like thousands of documents and lots of things came out from it. And obviously, you know, people like Mike King and Rand Fishkin came up with some really interesting findings. So I think saying nothing, you're not going to do anything with it, is quite strange, I think, because, you know, all these years we've been waiting for something from Google to tell us what the ranking signals are. And I'm not saying that these are telling us what they are, but it is giving us something. So it's something to work from as an SEO. So, you know, that was interesting. I thought I'd just, you know, share that. But this was talking about AI overviews. I just thought I'd cram that bit in. I always seem to forget something. But so this is on how AI overview provides answers. I stumbled upon this LinkedIn post and I thought it was really interesting, and it was via Lily Ray again. But she said, I really enjoyed Ryan Jones, who's the Senior Vice President at Razorfish, talk for SMX, the Search Marketing Expo, about AI overviews and how they work. So the AI overview provides an answer. Then it looks for sources to collaborate different parts of its response. This is why the sites that are cited in the overviews are not always the same sites ranking in the top positions for the query. Ryan also theorizes that the overviews appear not to be running the same spam algorithms, as we said earlier, that Google uses in its core ranking systems, which might explain why the overviews are, showing some spammy sites and sites that have been hit by the algorithm update or penalties. So, I thought that was really interesting in the sense that, because I must admit, when I've been using it, I'm thinking, why are they using this site? You're talking about this particular subject. I know who the key players are for this particular subject. I would not go to this website for that information. So why, I'm in the UK and you're giving me some random sites from India or something. They may be good sites, but it's not relevant to my search. So, it really does. I mean, obviously there's a lot of theory there, but it would make sense, depending on what I've seen so far anyway. So I don't got any thoughts on that.
I think similar to you, really. I think I don't understand why it wouldn't take the source material from the most trusted players who can demonstrate their credibility like we can. I mean, I think this is what's concerning about the fact that it is using that it seems to be quite prominent for healthcare type results, is that if people are going to go to the internet to get information about cancer or any kind of healthcare, you want them to get the best possible, most reliable, fact-checked information. And I mean, at the moment with AI overviews, potentially that's not going to happen, and that could, one, it could get Google in quite a lot of trouble. Two, it can be really risky for the person perhaps getting inaccurate medical advice and assuming that it's safe because it looks all right, it's written properly and has a couple of sources on it, but how credible are those sources? I think, again, even though it's not a ranking factor, whatever that means, or Google decide that means, EEAT is still really important, and we still need to make sure that we're helping users to understand what's reliable, what's accurate, what's safe. I mean, we were talking earlier, we're working with our some of our cancer information nurses on a video about identifying cancer misinformation and disinformation online. So I think doing things like that, just trying to be as helpful as possible to users and showing them what to look out for, what's maybe a red flag, is still really important. But yeah, it will be interesting. So obviously, just talking about AI overviews, they're not fully rolled out in the UK yet. They are kind of in a sort of beta version not many people have access to in the UK, but they are more rolled out in the US, and that's where a lot of these kind of wild examples that we've seen have come from. I think it's going to be interesting in terms of sort of legality, and what kind of challenges that Google's going to face when it comes to legislation in different countries and different areas, because it's very different. We have the UK in particular has very strict libel laws, for example. So I'll be curious to see what happens. I don't think it will be long before, if and when they are rolled out fully here, I think they could, they could get in a bit of trouble, and they're probably going to have to make more, iterate more and quickly, which I know they're already doing, but I think not fast enough.
Yeah, it's probably an example of them being, rushing the job and not thinking about these things, and I think that's definitely the case. Obviously, at first, whether it's just because they were testing it, but obviously they didn't even cite the sources at first. So maybe then they thought, oh god, we're getting some backlash, we have to add them in. They didn't really, think about it too much. So yeah, we'll see. And obviously, we've seen OpenAI have already some celebrities taking them to court over certain, legal matters, so copyright issues and so on. So yeah, it's going to be a tricky period. Just on the same subject, so we've got a couple more additional stories. We're going to try and get through what we can. Time's ticking away, but we'll try and get through as many. So on AI overviews in the Google My Business profile, so Joe Hawkins came across this, and again, all the links in the description if you want to see it. But she started seeing AI overviews being used as descriptions of Google business profiles. So these are not descriptions that business has entered themselves. So I guess it's good if it's accurate and you haven't got round to doing it yourself. But it could be a bit like the title tags where they started doing them themselves, and sometimes it wasn't as good as what you would have done yourself. So yeah, it's a tricky one. It could be beneficial, but also has its issues. And just finish up on the subject, it's kind of related but kind of not, but I thought it was really worth mentioning it. And I know there's been more news on it today, so if you go to Rand Fishkin's LinkedIn, you'll see more on this. But given Google's rollout and rollback of AI overviews and their changes in the EU to remove some self preferencing content, pre-referencing content. So it's been a long one. It's high time we get fresh answers. So yeah, he basically did some research with SEMrush, and he was looking at how much traffic does Google send to the open web, what's the rate of zero-click searches, how much Google search traffic does it send to Google's own properties. So really interesting research, a bit of analysis work. And the three options were X, so another click, so they went to another organic result, another Google property, a paid click, or Y, they did nothing, or Z, they did a search, so completely new search rather than just carrying on the same sort of journey through the original search. And what they found is that for every 1,000 EU Google search, 374 clicks go to the open web. Yeah, I thought it was really. I suggest you take a look at it because there's been more come from it just today, and I haven't had time to include it, but there's been more data on it about just how many clicks go to the paid results compared to other results and so on, and more information about zero clicks. But obviously there it tells you like under 50% of all the searches go to actual results as such. So, even when people go on Google, they don't necessarily even, end up clicking on anything as such or going onto a website. As we've seen with all the kind of search features and stuff, that was always going to be the case, I guess. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. I don't know if you read anything further on that there.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, it's another interesting one. I think for us as SEOs and digital marketers, I think the concern, well, there are several concerns, but one of them is about kind of tracking and measurement, because with the changes that are happening we already had lots of zero-click searches, we know, so we were already starting to look at the metrics we track a bit differently, because we know that, for example, with featured snippets, people may be looking to get their answer on the search engine results page rather than clicking onto a website anyway. But then, yeah, with AI overviews as well, we don't really, at the moment, have a way of tracking those, finding out how people are interacting with those and how that relates to our website. So yeah, I think the measurement is a concern, but also I think losing traffic obviously is a concern, but I think that's what a lot of people in the industry are worried about, the fact that Google is moving towards this model where users don't have to click onto a website and then, they get all of their answers in the search engine results page, which I think is, fine if that's a good experience, but at the moment it's not. And I mean, before AI overviews were rolled out, we were talking about search generative experience, which we thought, or some people thought, was going to be more of a chatbot type experience, so more of a question and answer, kind of very personalized search that happens, on the front page of Google. So, you could look how to, I don't know, make a birthday cake for your grandma or something, and then it would ask you, oh, what's her favorite flavor? Like, what colors does she like? And it would really tailor it and like basically write you your own personal recipe for your grandma's birthday cake based on what she likes, what information you've given. But I think that we might be a little way away from something as sophisticated as that.
Feel like Copilot, I guess, in the big version, yeah.
Yeah, although, I mean, obviously we've got our AI tools like ChatGPT and Claude, where we do have more of those conversational experiences, but that's not really the same as search. But I mean, if kind of general search moves that way, then what does that mean for the future of websites? Do we even need websites anymore if people can get a really personal, basically be having a conversation about, say, let's use fundraising as an example, say, how to sign up for the London Marathon, where to go, what to do, how to fundraise. Do they need a web page? That maybe they can do that without a web page, because as well with e-commerce, I've seen Google's doing more where it's setting itself up as an e-commerce platform. You can buy things directly from the search results. So it could be, you do all of your conversion within the search engine results page. So that's very different, and it's interesting. I think we're so much further away from all of these things than we may be led to believe, but who knows? It's interesting to think about what the future could look like for search.
Yeah, and on that sort of measurement thing, obviously we are seeing a few tools creeping in about trying to track AI overviews. I've actually got something on that next week, so we'll see what that brings. And but yeah, and also recently, it's on the search results, they've been showing that they've been doing like credit card comparisons and stuff directly on the search results. So they are going into new ground. So let's try and just do maybe one or two quick bits of other news. So this one's all about the first one's AI frenzy makes NVIDIA. Again, my pronunciation is.
Yeah, I can't help you. I don't know this
one. I tried to research it from the start. I mean, I know who they are, but it's the world's most valuable company, and there's a link in the description so you can try and pronounce it yourself. But they're huge. Obviously, they're now the most valuable company in the world. But they're a chip maker, NVIDIA. I think I tried to research it before, but I've lost track. So there we go. But it became the world's most valuable company after its share price climbed to an all-time high on Tuesday. It is now worth $3.34 trillion, which is quite a lot of money, with the price having nearly doubled since the start of the year. The stock ended the trading day, and this was a couple of days ago, at nearly $136, up 3.5%, making it more valuable than fellow tech giant Microsoft, and it overtook Apple earlier in the month. So, it's crazy just kind of what AI is doing to the markets and stuff. I've also got another story. It might be covered next time, but we've got so much to cover. I don't know if I will. But it's also about how the AI is sort of powered stuff that Google is actually making their basic kind of, they make sort of promises on terms of emissions and stuff, and it's really actually ruining a lot of their targets because it needs a lot of powering, and it's causing a few issues on that side. So the AI is changing a lot of different things, and obviously this particular company has benefited from it quite dramatically. So I thought that was quite interesting. And it goes on to say it's benefited from a boom in demand for chips that train and run generative AI models like OpenAI's ChatGPT. And it also benefited from Bitcoin. So it's had a few quick wins. And I guess we'll finish up on, because I had so many stories, but I think we better wrap it up because it's been going on a while. But this other story, I like to, in these videos, I'm going to try and cover some random AI based stories as well. I want to cover SEO and AI generally, and this one was quite great. It was about a Japanese robot that solved the Rubik's Cube in world record time, and thanks to, in part, artificial intelligence. And it basically, there's a video on the link that you find in the description. It's really, it doesn't take very long to watch, as you can expect. But it has 6 arms connected to a multi-axis motor and has high-speed cameras, both of which are connected to an industrial computer. The system is capable of turning each arm 90 degrees in just 0.009 seconds. So that's 0.009 seconds, just to be clear. And it solved it in 0.305 seconds, the Rubik's Cube, setting a new world record according to the Guinness World Records. And the new record is around 10 times quicker than the record for a human solving the puzzle, which was 3.13 seconds by Max Park in June 2023. So, I mean, we've seen AI do all sorts of things, from surgical, doing surgery, to obviously doing these Rubik's Cubes, to dancing, to walking. And there's one that does fire. It sprays out fire. There's loads of things. But obviously, these sort of, I don't know if you can replace a human with an AI robot in a Guinness Book of World Records. I think that's a bit, because if that's the case, I think the AI is going to be able to do nearly all of them better than a human sooner or later. So, I'm not sure about that one. I don't got any views. I think it's just a bit of a funny story, but I thought it's worth sharing.
Yeah, I wonder how far away we are from AI Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, they already do the drone sort of competitions around Wembley Stadium and things like that. So, and obviously AI can power drones. So they're going to, they already have sort of AI chess-based tournaments, gaming and stuff. So, I think, I mean, if you want to see a bunch of robots run really quickly, with like no emotion, I mean, obviously they are actually, we could be here all day, but they are trying to put emotions into them and proper synthetic skin and stuff like that. So, maybe we're not too far off. I know Elon Musk just recently said he wants to build robots at a scale to 2 to 1 against humans. So,
Elon Musk does a lot of things. I don't know how much credence I give them.
That's true. That is very true. And on that bombshell, I guess we'll wrap up today. So thanks for joining. Hopefully you found all that insightful. And if you got any comments about it, please leave them. And obviously it'd be really great if you could like and share this video and subscribe. I've got a lot coming on up. You got interviews with some really great experts in the field. I've got more sort of about us videos, how to do things about the SEO industry and AI. And obviously we have another news video in a couple of weeks. So if you enjoyed it, please do like and share. It really helps. And I'd like to thank my guest again, Adair. It's been brilliant.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll chat soon. So yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.